the Blues. None more classic than the Auckland Blues. Is it their year? No, well, sorry, Super Rugby. No, they didn't win at the end. Did they win? They did win last year.
They did win, yeah. They won Trans-Tasman.
That's sorry. Just for a second, I was assuming the Crusaders won again, but no. The Blues won Super Rugby Trans-Tasman.
For anyone listening, just excuse the work experience kid. Kagi, this is his first day. Look, we'll jump into some significant ins for the Blues. None bigger than Beauden Barrett coming back from Tokyo. He missed a good chunk of last year before sort of returning for them. Roger Tuivasa Sheck coming across from the New Zealand Warriors, looking to fill that 12 jersey for them. I also think it's worthwhile noting Luke Romano, although he's, getting closer to 40 years old, he's a very good player, lots of experience. Interesting to see him play not in a Crusaders jersey. That's something very different. And
he's got. I just want to tell him. I agree. You got to give him a shout out. He's one of the best bench locks of all time in Super Rugby. Do you know what I mean? As in, there is no better lock coming off the bench. Yeah, it's fantastic.
100%. He's just had so much experience. Finishes the game out for the Crusaders. So the question is, does he start or bench? But we'll jump into that. But yeah, don't just take the shade from Ricky Riccatelli. He's also a very exciting player.
True. He obviously moved to Auckland because he wanted to play golf with Beauden. Big golf buddies, those two. So, Harry, do you want to take us through the significant losses for the Auckland Blues?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, firstly, looking around the El Capitan, I think probably the biggest loss for the side, Patrick Tuipulotu has gone over to Toyota Verblitz, so it's going to be very hard to replace him, and I honestly don't think they can. You've also got Gerard Kelly Tuioti, who is another quality lock that was really starting to make a name for himself last year. Dylan Hunt had to retire due to chronic concussion. He was really starting to come through in the open side flanker role, along with Blake Gibson, same role, same position, has gone to the Hurricanes. And then to round it out, you've got Atera Black and TJ Fayani both gone as well. So just bunches of positions around key playmaker roles, open side flanker and lock, where they're gonna miss that talent. There's Talai, Ray Newey, I don't know where I've gone with that, in the hooker as well. So it's all a bunch of positions, and there's some questions and some holes there for them to fill for sure.
You said also that they lost a bit of that, leadership role in that sort of 10, 12 jersey, those sort of positions. And there's big changes for sure. But, I mean, they lost Black and Fayani. Would you prefer that or Beauden Barrett and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Harry?
Well, Beauden Barrett with his lingering concussion issues, and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck that hasn't played rugby since he was a teenager. This year, I'd probably take Black and TJ Fayani.
You're alone there.
Particularly TJ Fayani is an absolute weapon.
Yeah, I'd take just Beauden Barrett. You don't need to throw in RCS as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Any day of the week. But I think definitely. Well, they also lost. I mean, not a huge loss, but Jacob Pearce just in losing three big locks. Yeah. So that is going to be hard to fill those shoes. And also, I mean, can we blame Otero Black for leaving? The writing was on the wall last year. The man wants to actually playing some awesome footy. If you check out his highlights for the Water Gush, is it, or the Shining Arcs? I forget who he's playing, but he's playing with Israel Folau, and he's just doing what every good 10 would do, kicking across field. Tries are plenty. So
all you got to do is look at the screen right in front of you, mate. It'll tell you he's playing with the Shining Arcs.
Yeah, but who does that, mate? Shining Arcs. Okay, good. Let's push. Let's get on to the best 15 that we think for the Blues. Let's just run through them pretty quickly. We've got Alex Hodgman in a loose head. Kurt Eklund as the starting hooker. We'll have some competition from Ricky Riccatelli, but we think Eklund's probably locked that down. Nepo Laulala has kind of, we think, the more senior tight head prop has found his place there. Harry, do you want to take us through the locks?
Yeah.
That are left?
We got Big Sauce, Tom Robinson, and Josh Goodhue at 4-5. Tom Robinson was the standing captain without Patrick Tuipulotu last year, so he definitely fills a leadership role for this side. And then we've got Akira, Dalton, Papali'i, and Hoskins Satutu as our 6, 7, 8 as well, which is just incredibly fierce.
Great fantasy back row, that's for sure. We jump across into Finlay Christie at 9, who's a player that we all love. Beauden Barrett at 10. I mean, Harry did touch on his lingering concussion symptoms 4 weeks out. That's a bit concerning, 9 weeks after getting his concussion, but he should be there, and he's pretty confident he will be there for the kickoff of the season.
You mean, but he's the best player in the world, so it's fine.
He's a pretty good player. And then I'll go into the centres as well. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, I think he's going to light this competition up when he gets comfortable. And by all reports at training, they say he is an absolute freak and he is not going to miss a beat.
I thought you were going to say, by all reports, he's already comfortable. No.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like it, to be fair. So it'll be interesting. And they're putting him at 12 because apparently he wants to get his ball on hand as much as possible. There was talks. Does he go? I can see your faces, boys. Could he play fullback? Could he play wing? But 12 was always his jersey. I reckon he's got good ball skills, and he's just going to barge straight through this defensive line. Stop smirking when someone's talking about ball skills, Harry. And then on the outside centre, there's also Rieko Ioane, so that could become a real powerhouse centre pairing.
Yeah, and Rieko having an absolutely awesome international season last year. Yeah, I mean, I've talked forever about this guy, so I won't do it again today. But yeah, we know he's awesome. And look, actually, sorry, I'm going to jump back before we get onto the back three, which is just I realised I didn't do justice in terms of the front rowers. We still do have Big Carl and Offa, and I still expect them to rotate a lot with Ali Hodgson.
Drags, mate, this is your best 15. It's one of the key questions. Stop getting distracted. I'm going to do it for you. Caleb Clark on the left wing, Mark Talaya on the right wing, and Zahn Sullivan, we think, will finish at fullback. Now, the key questions, Cargie.
Key questions. Very good.
I've got one here for you. What do you think will be the management of the Blues front row? Will they use bomb squad technique, or will there be a clear first choice?
I see. Sorry, you meant to read the notes before we did that. Sorry, I got you. Right, okay. I think very much will be the same thing as last year, right? They've got 4 absolutely class All Black props. You're not going to, whilst you could say that Nepo Laulala might have usurped Big Offa in terms of he's the better scrummager and has just played his role a little bit better, I honestly think they're going to split time pretty evenly throughout the whole season. So it's a bit annoying for fantasy managers, as props like particularly Offa in the past had been had killed it for many seasons. But yeah, I would see them splitting it almost 50-50 throughout the season. So what you guys see?
Do you think the same, Nels, for the hookers as well, with Eklund and Riccatelli, or not? And Vikenna, obviously, to a degree as well?
Oh, look, I'd assume that Eklund and Riccatelli will definitely share that time. Whether they go, a straight change of 3 each week that they sort of did a little bit last year, and they'll link 3 of them together, entire front row, would be a pretty exciting thing. You bring in a whole fresh front row as long as they're ready to go. And that will light up the scrums as well as, ball in play with players like Riccatelli. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Riccatelli is going to want to be starting time and getting lots of footy under the belt. Eklund also, brilliant player, a little bit more experience getting towards the back end of his time. So yeah, he should be the starter for mine.
And Riccatelli's obviously come there really to compete for that starting position. He's realised he's not going to win that competition between Dane Coles and Asafa Omua down at the Hurricanes. As good as he's been over the years, he's really been fantastic. But
you've got to feel for the guy. He's going, where can I go to get some game time? He's gone to Kurt Eklund, and Kurt Eklund is a brilliant player. Yeah, there's just nowhere he could go to get a confident start.
That's it. But you'd rather compete against one rather than 2. So yeah, should be good from him. Harry, question for you, mate. I mean, Nelson's already given his thoughts, but how long until RTS is starting?
Look, I think, number one, I think he's been really hampered by the fact that COVID stopped him. I think Auckland pulled out of the Bunnings NPC, so he actually missed that entire season to get used to playing rugby union again. I'm suspicious given that they haven't got a lot of other options, but I think Harry Plummer will start the season, and relatively quickly you'll see Tuivasa-Sheck start on the bench, I reckon, round 1, and by probably round 4, 5, 6, I'd say he probably takes over him, given him that Plummer's not the most experienced player as well.
And not a 12.
Sorry?
Yeah. And not really traditionally a 12.
I mean, he's played the bulk of his time at 12, though, for the Blues. So that's why I think he'll play.
Yeah. I'm not saying that he can't cover it, but he's being pushed there because there wasn't an option at the time, and he is mainly a 10.
Well, TJ Fayani has been there for a few seasons and was the vice captain of the squad, so they have had some options at 12.
Yeah, and he was preferred over Plummer.
Okay.
When he wasn't injured.
Look, I'll throw another option out there. There's Tanielu Talea, another player we're very excited about, but we'd mainly see him play on the wing. I don't really know if he could be much of an inside centre.
He definitely does at NPC level. I've seen him play there a lot. To me, he's not the skill set they need to complement Rico Ioanes, which is probably his bigger problem. But he can play in the 12 jersey, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to say round 1.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, what's the final answer? Nelson and I saying round 1 for RTS. Harry's saying a couple rounds in after Harry Plummer.
Harry wants to be wrong by 4.
Harry Plummer's going to plug the hole for a while. Is that what we're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Nelson, I'll throw it to you, mate. What does the team do if Beauden Barrett, double B, doesn't overcome his concussion and isn't there week 1, 2, 3? I don't know. I mean, they could throw it under All Black rest as well. Just say, look, let's just rest him the first couple of weeks. We've paid a fortune to get the world's biggest star to Auckland and playing, so we don't want to, risk it.
Yeah, look, it'd be pretty tough for them losing the likes of Beauden Barrett. It is hard to know where he's at. Even if he's saying he's confident, he's probably going to say he's confident he'll be playing no matter what. He's getting symptom 9 weeks later. That is not a good sign. So if he is out, they've got Stephen Perifetta and Harry Plummer to fill that void. What are you shaking your head at, Harry?
Who's franchise, mate?
Yeah, I was going to say Stephen who? Stephen who, mate?
A pair of franchise. Look, for me, I'd be starting Perifetta, pair of franchise, because we love the guy, and he's played a lot of fullback for them recently, but I think he's a good shout for their starting 10 jersey.
I think I don't know if Parafranchise would be the person to slot in. I reckon Plummer would, purely because remember the back end of last year they sent Parafranchise back to Club Rugby to get more experience playing fullback.
They did, but didn't you say Plummer's already going to be playing 12 at the start of the season? So how can that work?
Yeah, well, it's only if Beauden's not playing though. We're picking a best 15, right? Trying
to tangle him in some webs there, Nelson. I like it. No, look, I agree. I mean, I agree with Nelson. I actually think Parafranchise is slot straight at 10. Mate, love Parafranchise. Absolutely amazing. And frankly, he's not going to play 15 now. With Zahn Sullivan has locked that jersey down. The absolute legend. So, yeah, anyway. But look, speaking of Beauden Barrett, let's get on to stocks rising.
No,
we've got one more big question, Craig.
Don't miss the best question, mate.
Yeah,
Come on.
We'll throw it to you so you can fumble around it. But this is from, regular listener. I think you might have seen his pod by now, and that's at Rugby Fixation. This is Rev. Do you think Robinson, Big South, gets the game time at lock?
Yes, because they don't seem to have a whole lot of depth in at lock, really. I mean, and they just have such good back rows. I mean, after the season Akira had last year, the international season, how can you not play Akira and Hoskins the way he tore up Super Rugby last year? We've said it time and time again, you just can't not play both of them. So I think as much as Big Sal's won't like it, if he wants to start, he's going to have to play lock. And
look, it just depends how those players fit in, doesn't it? It makes more sense to get all three of them on the paddock when you've had so much depth lost at that lock position. He's got experience. He's got leadership. He's someone you want to have on the park. And I agree with you. You can't drop Akira or Sotutu, but we've seen it happen in the past, and there's potential they could fill a similar role with each other and one off the bench. But I think if you're putting your money on it, you're going to have Big Sauce playing in the locks.
They'll probably play 50-50, I reckon, they'll obviously rest Akira and Hoskins here and there, and that'll be his chance to slot in at 6, and then otherwise will play in the lock. And I mean, you look at the final they played last year and Big Sauce sat on the bench. So I think that tells you everything, that they do rate Akira and Hoskins when push comes to shove.
Yep. Yeah, and it also depends on the development of Sam Darry or Sam Darry. Because he was one he was being talked up a lot and we were impressed by. So, he can really lay claim to a locking jersey if they want to have two big locks. So,
well, man, where Sam Darry came from, the academy that he came from. He was always going to be a big deal coming straight out of the Crusaders Academy.
That's it. That's the number one thing we pay attention to every year. So, But all right, stocks are rising. Harry, why don't you take us through the two stocks that are rising?
Number one's pretty obvious. Bodie Barrett back from overseas. In 2019, he was the top fly half. He had 49.2 points per game. That was over Richie Moe, who was only 43.6. It had him as the 5th highest scorer overall. 2020, he dropped off significantly, but let's not talk about that. Chances are, I think he's probably going to land somewhere in the middle, which would put him, top 2 or 3 fly halves in the game. So stock's definitely rising for Bodie, not only as a player returning to Super Rugby, but for fantasy footy as well.
Yep.
How good?
Look, I'll jump into Zahn Sullivan. We've already touched on him, but we have hyped him up for a long period of time. I think throughout last year, he is an exciting player. Kagi, what do you think of Sullivan? Do you think he's going to be starting every week?
Mate, I think it's generous saying we have hyped him up all last year. I have hyped him up all last year and was shot down by you guys consistently. No, look, I mean, he lived up to it. And he did, look, he surprised even me. I was extremely optimistic in how quickly he locked that jersey down and got so many minutes. And he's only going to get better and better. And now with the world class of Bowden and some of the other players around him, I mean, sure. I labelled him the next Will Jordan, which I think was, that's definitely a huge commendation, but it is. But no, he's absolutely awesome. So
let's keep in mind he's 21 and he's not long 21 as well. He was 21 in the back end of last year. He's 6'4", 101 kilos. He is an impressive specimen.
He is. So yeah, I do fully expect, I mean, I called it last year, but I expect this year him to take it to another level. So be right up there on the fantasy points.
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Stocks that are falling. Look, I'll take you through this one. Offer Tuanga Fassi. I think, I won't go into it because we already said it. They're going to split a lot of time, the props, but it did seem like Nepo Lalala has kind of pipped him for just being better in the set pace, really. I mean, you'd say Offer probably has more of a running game and things like that, but just Nepo has nailed his job. One of the best scrummagers in the country in that tight head jersey. And also has made some of the biggest hits. Like, I'll never forget one of the highlight hits for him in the Chiefs when he played for the Chiefs. But so we think Offer stocks, maybe he might see a little bit less time in that split between him and Nepo. So Smokies. Harry, you love Stephen Para franchise. Tell us about it.
I do, mate. And he's not a stocks rising for the first time ever, I'm sure, for me. I think just a smoky this year. As you said, he can slot in at 10, 15. He played out at 15 for Taranaki through all the NPC, kicking goals as well, which is obviously very valuable. If there's no Bowden, I think he's worth money. If there's no Zahn Sullivan, I think he's worth money. I would be picking him up immediately. I'd almost just hold him on my bench just in case, to be honest. Depends if all the other Crusaders players are gone. But he is just such a talented player if he gets game time.
Yeah, that's very fair. Kagi, you want to touch on the second name here?
Again, talked about it already, but Sam Darry, in the notes, he even made it on the Hot Shit podcast last year. So I said he's certainly got some big raps. We talked about he's come out of the Crusaders Academy, big unit. He did, he got into Super Rugby pretty quickly, and I think now really this is his opportunity to take this jersey and make it his own with all the other locks moving on. So I feel like it's probably less pressure on him, if that makes sense. But we really liked what we saw, and he's only going to get better. So should be very good.
He's just got a bit of competition there with, Romano, old man Romano, with all his experience. And, if you've got to compete with the next Waratah like Tucker, then, you've got a difficult, was he at the Brumbies? I thought he was at the Tars for a bit. No, he wasn't, sorry. He was at the Brumbies.
I think that speaks everything to what you were saying, though. We don't even know what team he's coming from. So.
Mate, I'm clearly just blowing smoke up a little bit there. But look, the third name on this is definitely Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He could be anything. We haven't seen him play rugby. It's been quite some time. But if the hype that's getting put out of the Blues camp is anywhere near what it really should be, he's going to be a really exciting player and could be worth bulk points, getting bulk minutes early on. So it'll be interesting one to see.
I can't believe that Craigs did not have both Zahn Sullivan and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck in his top picks for fantasy players this year. Completely honest.
Look,
blew my mind.
I'll be honest, I'm definitely regretting not having picked Zahn Sullivan now.
I think he's on a dip down from last year, is he?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but
I almost went to have asked a check with Bowden Barrett inside him, Ioane outside him. Not only is he going to get good ball, he's giving ball to someone who can do something with it. He could be worth a lot of points.
Yeah,
it is going to be good. How good a time would it be to be the Blues social media manager? Just, the RTS stuff you could just spout all day.
100%.